Okay, we're talking wrestling. Uh, Good afternoon, guys, or good morning, wherever you're at. This is the Morning Suplex. There's a new show we're going to start. It's going to be reminiscent of radio shows from the past, where we just talk in the morning and help you get to work thinking about wrestling, because nothing's better than a show that's probably all right, and it's that way for several decades at a time, and you can't leave it. So. Okay, let's get started. Today is Tuesday, April 22nd, 2025. We're going to go ahead and talk briefly about WrestleMania 41, the Raw after WrestleMania, and just the news in general. So, big story at the top. Jey Uso defeating Gun. No, I'm just kidding. Big story at the top. John Cena, 17th world title. He's it. He's officially number one of all time. Beat Ric Flair, debatably. Depending on who you're talking to. I think old heads will usually say that Ric Flair's numbers are, no one, younger people I don't think care about that too much, especially because John Cena's the guy. Nowadays, Ric Flair's, he's kind of from a different era. John Cena's still, in movies and such. How do you guys feel about it? I like it. I think that it kind of gives the WWE a good way to reset. People holding the belt for years at a time. John Cena obviously has a cap on it. I mean, he can, realistically, outside of kayfabe, he is retiring at the end of the year, so it gives him, 7.5 or 8 months to hold it. So right off the bat, he's not going to hold it for, 4 years or even 1 year, like with Cody. So that's good. And in general, that kind of goes with a idea that I've had lately with WWE, where I really think that they should go back to maybe a little bit of out there. I was going to say a different word. A little bit of out there booking, with having people lose suddenly, or not everything needs to be like a 666-day run, 4-year run, longest reigning this, most wins that. I think this John Cena win will allow us to go into the phase of, that being said, this happened last night, but it'll allow us to go into the phase of people winning a belt and then losing it the next day, which, obviously happened with, if you guys saw Raw after WrestleMania, it happened with Becky and Lyra. They won at WrestleMania, lost it the very next day. That's good. I like that. If you guys are, a fan of, playing video games, or if you guys are a fan of your edgier, Game of Thrones, or, Sopranos, what have you, sometimes you win and it's a big story and they really build you up, and then you lose like a week later. I mean, that's okay. I think not every win you've had in your life was the biggest win ever. Sometimes they were random. You were just at the right place at the right time, and sometimes it was like a year plus, court case that you had and you won. I mean, sometimes they are like that, but not all the time. So yeah, John Cena winning, I think that's great. Cody will be fine. He can afford. I mean, he beat Roman. I mean, there's nothing anyone could say to Cody. That character, if you don't like him, obviously that's one thing. But I think in terms of Cody in the character, the pantheon of characters, I don't think there's anything you can say to him. He beat Roman. He finished the story, blah, blah, blah. Most merchandise seller. I mean, the guy's fine. He'll be fine. John Cena beat him. Now, if Carlito beat him or someone else, it's a different story. But, okay. And just kidding when it comes to Jay. We'll talk about Jay. Jay beat Gunther. Not a big fan of it. Jay's good. I'm glad kids like him. I think that's fine. But I just don't think, I don't think he's all there sometimes, like in the ring, and he's a little bit incoherent sometimes with promos. Maybe he gets too hyped up, or maybe it's just legitimately how he is, which may be the case. He seems like a nice guy. I guess. Yeah, it's fine. That's fine. I know that Jimmy and Sami Zayn came out to congratulate him. Yes, okay, it's cool. That's fine. Maybe we can get into it another episode. But some people are fans of, some people are not. Which isn't to say I don't like them. It's just I'm not You know, I'm more of an old school fan. I want my wrestlers to not look like just guys. I mean, it's okay with being the underdog, but um, what are we gonna do? But Gunther tapped immediately. It seemed like, which I don't. You know, okay, that's fine. Maybe I don't know. Let me know what you guys think down below. Seth Rollins, another big one at the top. Third from the top. Seth Rollins beat Roman Reigns and CM Punk with Paul Heyman's help. I thought it was good. I thought it was really good. I did think there was a little bit of, maybe we could see this coming, because, I don't know. Maybe some people legitimately saw it coming. Maybe some people were just saying that because hindsight is 2020, that a hindsight bias, but if that's what you call it, I think. But I think it's good for Seth. I mean, this guy has just been, he's like, I equivocate Seth and Bailey a lot, where they're just day in, day out for years at a time. Thunderdome era, 2019, second loaded era, worst of all time era. Even back in the, the dark days, the 2012 to 2014, 2015. I mean, they were there, as much as they could, putting up with, Vince McMahon's insane promos that were, I know he didn't write them, but he signed off on them. I mean, they're in day out. So put in that work. He jobbed to Cesaro WrestleMania 37. Not all of us have forgotten. It's kind of strange in hindsight, but all that being said, glad he got a win over the two biggest guys in the company. One guy who's part time, and another guy who's part time due to age and injury, and which is fine. I got nothing against CM Punk. I like CM Punk a lot. He's one of my guys, but amazing. Not just the win, but now that he's heel, I really think that he can. I don't know, just kind of have a different coat of paint on what he's doing, and kind of differentiate it, because I feel like he was kind of like he was a face technically, but was he? But he wasn't. For the past couple of years, which I know 2020 to now has felt like 18 weeks. Come to find out, it's been 5 years. I know, shocker. I can't be the only one who thinks that. Let me know in the comments below if it has felt like 5 years. But yeah, and just to jump ahead a little bit, Braun Breaker aligning himself with him. I like it in theory. We'll see how it works. I feel like that was just a just a cheap way to get Braun and CM Punk having Paul Heyman as their manager. Like instead of doing like a year with Braun and then a year with Seth Rollins, like it's like doing it at the same time, just whatever. But there's precedent. Like Seth and Braun did wrestle against each other when they were both faces, both with belts, I believe, in NXT a while back. I could be wrong on the belts thing, but yeah, it's a good time. I think that changing things up is really the way to go. And Roman Reigns being laid out, man, that's what a sight to see. I always figured that he was kind of a easygoing guy. Like he seems like a good dude, behind the scenes, non kayfabe, and talking to kids like in those Zoom calls where he talks to kids. He seems like a really decent Christian dude. CM Punk as well. Well, not so much the Christian part, obviously, but it just seems like a really decent guy. Now, if you disagree, let me know in the comments below. But I really honestly think that he was given a bad rub in AEW, and the leadership was poor. The company was not trying to be a company. I could go on and on. Not a fan of AEW, not at all. And if you are a fan of AEW, I don't want you to click off. I do need your views, but no, I'm just kidding. I mean, I want to disagree. Without all the nastiness of people disagreeing online. I mean, I just simply don't like it. And if you do like it, that's fine. Be cordial, and I'll be cordial. But that being said, both seem like good guys, and they both were, just to see them laid out and putting over Seth, putting over Braun Breaker, I'm like, man, that's awesome. Like, I think it's about time people, do that for Seth, because he's been doing that for, feels like, 10 years at this point. Yeah, I think the Paul Heyman. I will say when it comes to Paul Heyman, I think that the Paul Heyman dynamic is is borderline tiresome, where he's turned on Brock, he's managing Roman, then it's like, okay, he's against Solo and his version of the Bloodline. He's a very duplicitous character, which I know is the thing, but also like sometimes you're like, yeah, this guy like really has people's best interest in mind, which I think is a little bit of his outside the ring characters in his obviously WWE character kind of overlapping, because I think he probably was really, really happy to finally, after a decade, be in the main event with Punk, CM Punk, and Mr. Punk in the in the main event. I think that was a big moment for him, like legitimately. So I think that's real when you see that on his face. But then when he turns, in character, it's like, okay, well, But we'll see what happens, But in the 8 to 12 to 14 months when he turns on Braun Breaker, it's just gonna be like, okay, this is, what can you do with a guy who's older dude, overweight, which I got nothing against. He's got amazing suits. I mean, this guy he's a big boy, but he's got the nicest suits I've ever seen. Overweight, older dude. How do you get him involved without, obviously him getting physical outside of the, biannual power bombing in the table. But great stuff. I really like it. Let's see what else we got. Dominic winning the belts naturally, get Braun away from it so he can move on to bigger and better things, as we just talked about. Give Finn Balor another reason to move away from the Judgment Day. Penta's too new, to win that. I think up front, but I could be wrong. You may disagree, but I think he's just too new. And Penta seems like just a really easygoing guy too. Like he seems like type like, I could be wrong. Let me know if you know Penta personally, and I'm full of crap. But he seems like the type of guy who's like just happy to be in the company with his brother, away from AW and all their shenanigans. And he's willing to lose, in a group of 4 guys. I mean, it's not like you're losing clean to one guy after one, pedigree. Like I think he's fine. But Dominic, he's doing it. He's I don't know. I think he's slowly getting there. Like I feel like his burn has been a lot slower, but sure. Of him kind of being that next generation. Some people have been more kind of fervorous burn, if I could use that word correctly, like Braun Breaker, obviously, and some people were on fire, burning on fire. How would I say? A raging flame. Their flame was raging. They were a flamer, like Austin Theory, because the guy was on fire, and then now, where is he? Saw him at the Hall of Fame. Not like I was there in person, but saw him on TV at the Hall of Fame, just sitting there with Grayson Waller, and it's like, what are we doing with this guy? But that being said, Dominic, in my mind's eye, along with Austin Theory, until that changes, and Braun Breaker, and maybe a few others I can't think off the top of my head, is definitely one of those guys where it's like, yes, this is like one of the next generation. Past year or two, he's really put on some size. Obviously the hair, the mullet, the mustache, character work. He's really quick-witted. I think it's a perfect time to give it to him. Very safe. It's in a multi-man match, so it's not like you're putting him over as this powerhouse. He's still kind of a chicken heel. Good stuff. And obviously, if you're listening to this, you maybe listen to this 5 years after the fact, and you went back to see what my first video sounded like, or maybe you listen to this on the day, and I happen to, what a coincidence. You know what I'm talking about. But I was at WrestleMania 40 last year, and I'm a fan of the mullet hairstyle. I'm a fan. I like the old school looks. I like Zubaz pants, mullets. Randy Savage, okay, I'm a fan of this stuff, okay. I was rocking the mullet, and in my defense, I was growing the mullet out before Dominic was. So time me, I could provide pictures. I won't, but I could. I was growing it before Dominic had his, because if you remember, Dominic had that John Cena the Marine haircut, and then slowly he started growing it out. And at WrestleMania 40. Going to the Superstore, going here, going there, around town. Obviously, everyone in town's there for WrestleMania. You can kind of tell because everyone's wearing the shirts and, stuff like that, visiting the sites. Several people thought I was dressed as Dominic Mysterio. Now, it doesn't help that, I like to wear flannels, like open shirt flannels, just kind of cool and casual, very grunge, very, Nirvana. But, I don't think that helped my case. But I don't know what it was. People thought I was Dominic Mysterio. Several people. In fact, one guy came up. God bless this guy. I wasn't trying to make him feel bad. I was just, correcting the record. He says, "Hey man," we're at the Superstore. He goes, "Hey man, I like your outfit, dude. Nice, dude. Dominic." He gives me a fist bump. And I fist bump him. I said, "What?" He said, "You're Dominic." Paraphrasing. This is more or less how it happened. I said, "Oh yeah, man. Thanks." And I said, "You know what's crazy though is that I'm not dressed as Dominic. This is just how I look. This is just how I look. Okay. I don't know what to tell you. Okay. I'm not trying to make you feel bad, man, but I just look like this. Okay." And, I wasn't that aggressive. I'm just being funny. But he felt bad. And I said, "Nah, dude, don't worry about it." I was like, Dominic's, at the time, I don't think it was as fashionable as it is now, or profitable to put belts on him or to like him. I think he was, I don't think people got it yet. I got it up front. I really liked Dominic the whole time. Now, that did not, like I said, that did not subconsciously, inform me growing the mullet out. I promise you I was growing out beforehand. But regardless, I told the guys, I said, "Don't worry about it, dude. I like Dominic. He's great. That's funny. It's really funny." People I was with thought it was hilarious. I wouldn't leave it alone. And even after night 2, I believe, WrestleMania 40, I was leaving. Several young fellas, look like 20s to 30s, young guys, group of guys were like, "Yo, dude, Dominic." I said, "Thanks, man." I just went with it this time. I said, "Thanks, man." And I thought he would stop there. And the guy, he said, "Hey guys, yo, dudes," like his guys is with, "Yo, this dude's Dominic." And I was like, "Yeah, dude, yeah, man." And we're all kind of walking. And I turned back. I couldn't help it. I turned around. I said, "You know what's funny, guys? Is that this is just how I look. I'm actually not dressed up as Dominic." Huge pop. They liked it. They liked it. Fun time for all. Fun time. Anyway, moving on. Io Sky versus Bianca and Rhea. I think amazing. I would say probably the best match of the 2 nights. Easily. I would say it was as good as CM Punk and Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins, but without the drama and the staging, which is fine. It's fine. Like, they're telling a story, but I feel like Io and Bianca and Rhea was the same thing, just more expeditious, more high action, speedier. I thought it was really good. Io going over, I think, was the perfect thing to do. I was shocked actually because Bianca, I thought they were going to give her a Undertaker-esque WrestleMania streak. They didn't. That's okay. There can always be another, or never. No one ever again. Who knows? But I really thought Bianca was going to win, just based off that alone. I didn't think Rhea was going to win because she cannot beat Io. There's like that kind of set up in the story that she has this mental block with beating Io, and I didn't think that they wanted her to beat Bianca. Because they wanted to save them to that money match that they may have done years ago. But I know for years now they've kind of pitted them as like equals and peers. And I mean, they're both jacked up, tall for women, tall, jacked up females. So, I guess in hindsight, I guess Io was the obvious choice. I don't know. Maybe, I thought Bianca was going to win, but that was amazing. I think her taking the pin, Bianca, that is going to lead to her turning heel. The crowd's been booing her lately, which some people online, I think, are a little silly. They say it's for this reason, that reason. Reasons I think are kind of baloney or weird and random. But I think it's honestly just because she is getting John Cena'd. She is getting Cody'd. She has been the babyface hero, not heel, babyface hero for a while. Always does the right thing. Always tries to stand up for her friends, but there's been a little tiny bit of an edge to her the past 8 months or so. I don't know. Not taking people's crap, kind of getting frustrated with people. And I think it's just natural for people to. It happens to every babyface. They start to hate you, and I think it's happening with her. And which is a good thing. I mean, hey, I feel like a good problem to have. I mean, look at how it worked out for John Cena. I think Bianca just needs to turn heel for 6 months to a year, and then slowly come back. And look at Dominic at the post show. He had his belt for this past WrestleMania. People were cheering for him. So you got to build up that momentum with being booed, which gives people subconsciously a reason to care about what you do, and then give them something to like that you did. And the rest is easy. I could do this booking stuff all day. I mean, oh my god, you guys, it's so easy. Triple H, please answer my emails. Becky Lynch, next match. Becky Lynch and Lyra beating Liv Morgan and Raquel. Oh my goodness. First episode, I'm going to run off half of the 5 people that listen to this. I didn't like Becky coming back suddenly at Bayley's expense and just winning. I just thought it was stupid, to be quite honest. I think it's I don't think Lyra's there. I got nothing against her. She's very talented, very fit, obviously, which I always say is the I think as a wrestler in a looks-based business and an athletic-based business, you have to be fit. She's fit, so hey, I give her that. I think her gimmick is just a little dumb, to be honest. Her theme is awful. It makes me cringe, and I've been watching her since she was in NXT at that women. If you remember, someone out there will remember, she was at that women's battle royal in NXT, and she was just, she's shorter, which I got nothing against. She can't help how tall she is, but she's shorter, and she's like suddenly there. I don't know who she is. Maybe I should have. I don't know. I didn't know. She's running around, just pushing people off the ring, throwing them over. And I'm like, who is this? Who is this person that came in suddenly and is like, at the time, I think Roxanne was a champ or something like that. And I was just like, she's up there with her. Like, regardless, Becky teamed up with Lyra, and I didn't like either component of that, as I mentioned. Liv and Raquel losing, I think, was dumb, but they're heels. They can take it. Liv is on fire. I mean, I think she's like one of the top, people in the company easily. Much like, your Roman Reigns, your CM Punk, your Rhea Ripley, your Seth. I mean, if you put, like, the way I look at it is, if you put the person in Fortnite, for those of you who play Fortnite, or at least you've seen the videos or pictures, would that move the needle? And I think it would. I think you could put Liv in there. She'd have like the eye makeup with the what do you call it, like the tears below it. She could have like her ring gear with the eye on it, the all-seeing eye. Because at this point in time, there is Undertaker, John Cena, Cody Rhodes, Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair. So I get them mixed up because they're both so fit. And they came up kind of around the same time. Bianca Belair and Becky Lynch. So that's Cody, John. Yep. So that's 5 people, and all 5, you look at them and you're like, that is someone who's somebody. If I'm a random person playing Fortnite, usually a kid, not so much anymore, but it's for kids. If you're a child and you're playing Fortnite and you see that person in the Fortnite shop, and they only come around every so often. If you guys know how Fortnite works, the skins of the different characters, if you want to be, Superman or Captain America or, Freddy Fazbear, if you want to be these characters, they'll come around every so often. So if on the day you're a child and you're sitting there at Fortnite and you're playing, and you see this person, you don't know who they are. You see WWE, then you're like, yeah, I kind of know what that is. Would that person? It's almost like the airport test. We'll call it the Fortnite test. I think Liv Morgan would pass the Fortnite test. She's great. I think Raquel's good. I think she's kind of getting rough end of the deal. I know she's had some kind of like health issues and stuff, but years ago, I would say she was third in line after Rhea and Bianca to be the kind of apex female. And obviously that kind of has gone by the wayside. I think Rhea like pinned her clean on free TV like last year. I mean, it is what it is. I still think she's really good. I really like her. I think, I watched the Chris Van Vliet interviews and other like YouTube videos of like wrestlers just out of character. And I think she's great. She seems like really like, just like a chill person, really just kind, decent person. Not to say other people don't, but her especially, I think she's really good. But obviously they won it back the next night, so there you go. Oh, and stemming from that, I guess we talked about it. Becky Lynch turned heel on Lyra after Lyra, proverbially crapped her pants and lost. And, she was sitting there looking guilty at Becky, like, oh, I didn't mean to lose. And then Becky, got mad and beat her up. I think it was good. Liv and Raquel get their titles back, so they're at a net neutral. They didn't lose. They didn't they're not like that. They got their lick back. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say. And Becky and Lyra's story progresses. Now, how that works for Bayley, she had to miss out on WrestleMania, which at the time of this recording, I listened to Chris Van Vliet's interview again, where she hinted at, it was recorded before WrestleMania, like probably the day of, like the morning of, and she alluded to not being happy with something, and something along the lines of, by the time this comes out, there will be another thing to talk about. And obviously, in retrospect, even in the comments, at the time of recording this, people knew what she meant. Obviously, talking about Becky taking her spot, but what does that mean for Bayley? I mean, in story, you could say, oh, it means this, it means that. It's like, yeah, I guess, man, but she missed out on WrestleMania, and Bayley's like one of my favorite people. Like I said, she just, I don't know, she's just a hard worker, really just doesn't try and bury people, or so it seems, in my opinion. Doesn't try to bury people. Really tries to help the younger gals there, put them over, work with them. Obviously, like with Lyra. And then you have other people like Becky, Becky seems nice. Okay, she seems fine. I got nothing against her, but what am I going to make of stuff like this? You know what I'm saying? What am I going to make of taking Sasha Banks' spot, Mercedes' spot in, was that like SummerSlam 2021? Taking her spot and beating Bianca in 17 seconds or whatever it was. Like, come on, guys. This is, I know, like Hulk Hogan said years ago, our beloved John 316 Balea, he always says that, maybe not always says, but he has said famously in the past that, no, wrestling is real. These wins do mean something, because if I'm not winning, I'm not getting paid. If I'm not getting paid, then, I'm off the card. I'm not selling as much merch as maybe there's shades of that here. I don't know, but I mean, what are you going to do in Becky's position? They're going to say, hey, we're taking Bayley out, we're putting you in. Would you really be, I know everyone would say they would, but would you really look at that WrestleMania payday, look at working with another Irish girl who's, from your country, maybe from the same spot in Ireland, I don't know. Look at the chance of being, big stadium full of people cheering for you. I mean, would you turn that down? Maybe some of you out there would. Maybe I would. I don't know. I'm just such a decent, moral, upstanding person. I don't know. But so I don't blame her. I got nothing against her, but I just feel bad for Bayley. I hope she comes through on the other side of this with something meaningful. And obviously, whatever she does, I don't think it's going to be as good as a WrestleMania spot, to be quite honest. I mean, she was at WrestleMania 37, taking a bump down the ramp with the Bella Twins and Titus O'Neil and Terry. I mean, is that much better than missing out entirely? I mean, I don't know. You tell me. But I just, I hope she does all right. Let's see what else we got. So just a few more. Logan Paul defeating AJ Styles. I get it. AJ Styles is one of my favorites. I'll just fully disclose that up front. Simply phenomenal. That's my catchphrase I stole from him. Not really, but AJ Styles is one of the best ever. And Logan Paul beat him. So I get it. It puts Logan in the next kind of tier of wrestler, like in kayfabe, like his power level, if you will. But I just, I kind of wanted AJ to win, but I know Logan Paul probably had to win because he's getting eyes on the product and, so on and so on. But if AJ could, very selfishly, for me, not for AJ probably doesn't care. He's just having a good time probably, putting young guys over. But if selfishly for me, if AJ could get his lick back and beat Logan Paul at like Backlash or something, that'd be nice. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Karrion Kross, though, interfering with one of Logan Paul's sycophants who, I feel like I've seen the Logan Paul podcast every now and then, I'm kind of like, okay, I mildly recognize what these guys look like. And then on the show, it's like some dude coming out who looks like me out there wearing a t-shirt and jeans and like a jacket that they thought was cool, that they're making their personality for the month. They're coming out, you know, and I'm just like, who are these people? But regardless, one of Logan Paul's sycophants comes out, Karrion Kross stops him, and then AJ loses anyway. I know they're trying to paint the logic that if Karrion Kross comes across you, he is the devil on your shoulder, and he's like the deal that you make at the crossroads. Like you have to take his advice and turn heel. I mean, even on, if people remember, or if you listen to this after the fact, on Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania, they had the New Day heels now with the belts walking past Karrion Kross, and Karrion Kross gives him a nod reminiscent of Michael Caine from the end of The Dark Knight Rises, giving a nod to Christian Bale, Bruce Wayne. So Karrion Kross is kind of acknowledging, like, he's not going to make a big deal out of it, but he's kind of giving him the nod, like, see, I told you guys just had to turn evil, and look what it, and I thought that was kind of cool. So I get what they're saying now. I think a lot of people know that AJ is a Christian guy, and he was turning heel for a bit. And he even mentioned that he didn't like the man he saw in the mirror when he was heel, like with Cody and stuff. So I don't know, I don't know how that logic's going to work out. Like if Karrion Kross, like if this is the moment where he's going to beat AJ, like if they wrestle, and Karrion Kross is not going to be trying to convert AJ, he's going to just be trying to beat him. If he beats AJ too. I mean, I don't know. We'll see what happens. But Karrion Kross been getting pretty good reactions lately, and I really like that. I think that's probably one of my favorite guys too. I don't know how old he is, but I would maybe on a technicality put him in with that next generation, like with like how I mentioned with Dominic, Braun Breaker, and Austin Theory in them. But he's great. I think he's really really good, really talented. Just the kind of I believe his name is Sean O'Hare, but which I believe Karrion has mentioned many times. He's trying to emulate. But Sean O'Hare, God rest his soul, was kind of the, man in the black suit, like Al Pacino in that movie with Keanu Reeves, where he's like the devil on your shoulder trying to tell you what to do, what not to do. I think that's a great character, and I think that fans are finally starting to get it, which is good. It's taken a while. I do think he was off for a bit, Karrion, because he was growing his hair out, which kind of helps with the character and his look. So as someone who's growing their hair out, like a mullet, a Dominic Mysterio style mullet, there is an awkward stage, and you don't want to be on TV during that awkward stage. Everyone remembers Undertaker when his, when his hair is growing back in. There's kind of the awkward stage. So, but Karrion's great. I think he's him. He is him. Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest, Sin City Street fight. I literally, I don't know how to describe this. I watch Drew McIntyre is, I'll just say this, Drew McIntyre is my favorite in WWE, has been for many years. He's just that dude. He worked his butt off to come back. He's doing it. Damian Priest, he's good. He's really talented. I just don't, speaking of Karrion Kross, like fans starting to get it. I don't know if people get Damian, and I don't know if he does, maybe, which is kind of, because he was like the Street King, and he was like, the Hellraiser, Pinhead type, Hell Priest guy, and, when he was wrestling like in 2021, he was like the Angel Devil Man, the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I mean, I just don't know if he's there yet, and I'm not sure what the disconnect is. And Damian, if you watch interviews with him, seems like just really like just chill guy. Like he seems like really like just decent dude. Like he's clearly like likable. He's clearly like passes the proverbial airport test. He probably passed the Fortnite test as well. But I just don't know what it is. I don't know what he needs. But regardless, I'm a little bit biased because Drew McIntyre is my guy. He has just been getting just mistreated, in my opinion, over the past 5 years, ever since he missed out on WrestleMania to beat Brock in a stadium. And obviously, it's no one's fault, Well, maybe you disagree, but it's just the way things went down, and it sucks because it's just like, man, when I was at WrestleMania 40, we were at the I think it was at WWE World, or it had to be, I assume, but or maybe it was at WrestleMania 38 actually, WWE World. Maybe that's why I'm getting mixed up, but they had posters and memorabilia and displays of all the WrestleMania so far. It was really cool to see. And when it got to WrestleMania, what was that? 36, right? WrestleMania 36. It had the poster for it, and it was just, man, it looked awesome. It had like Drew at the very top, the biggest one there. He's the main event, and because every other WrestleMania, it's like John Cena, like the ones back in the day, or now it's like Roman or Seth or whatever. And it's like, man, like his WrestleMania where he was the guy, the main event on it, he doesn't get to do it. So, in a stadium. And that was before they had the crowd and pipe noise, piped in crowd noise, or the crowd and pipe noise. And it just, man, watching that back is just, it's a tough watch. But anyway, I hope this is a new turning point for his character. I think he's going to team up with Dwayne. They're going to be evil corporate guys. I don't know, but Dwayne, he's been putting over Drew McIntyre for years. I mean, in a like TMZ style interview, I don't know who it was, but TMZ style, they're just kind of like talking to him off the cuff on the street. He's like at the airport or something, like in like 2018 or something. Someone asked Dwayne what his who he thinks is like that guy like coming up, and he named Drew McIntyre. He said, "This is the guy. He's gonna be him." And I said, I thought to myself, well, that's a good sign because he's in charge now. So we'll see what that means. Drew McIntyre is putting in that work. He, I feel like he's like a workhorse. He's on Seth and Bailey's level too, where he's just, he's just getting pinned and then losing and then doesn't get to be the bloodline hunter because CM Punk is going in there, even though he carried CM Punk through that feud, which I'm not saying that's CM Punk's fault or he's, but it's like, I mean, I'm sure even CM Punk would have to admit that obviously due to the injury and due to other stuff, like Drew was the one who was really like, especially at the Hell in a Cell that they had, the blow off match for it. It's like, not saying CM Punk didn't take his licks, but it's like, man, Drew like got his head busted open. He's, taking these hard bumps. Like, we'll see what happens. I really think that's, I hope he does well. That's all I'll say from here on out. Randy Orton beating Joe Hendry. Next match. Amazing. Very simple. Very Randy Orton is like at that level where he could just, figuratively just kill someone in, what feels like, 3 minutes. Joe Hendry is kind of a joke guy, but kind of not. I'm not too familiar with his work, but obviously I've seen him in NXT and a few other times when he shows up, and I feel like I think he was the Royal Rumble in January where he kind of like bucked up. I think when Roman was in the ring, or maybe it was Braun Breaker, but someone was in the ring and Joe Hendry like got up like he was about that action, and I think someone put him down pretty quick. I was like, okay, that's funny. I could be misremembering that, but I remember he was in there hanging. But the finish to this particular match at WrestleMania 41, I think was genius. The the turnaround, slow zoom in on Joe Hendry's face. He was emoting, and then it's zoomed in while Randy Orton is hitting the RKO. I think that's genius in the way of how it looks to the audience at home. Maybe in the stadium as well if you're looking at the screen, the big Titantron, but. I think it's genius for how it looks to the audience, and it's also genius where it's another big RKO finish that they could put in a compilation between now and the end of time that doesn't require Randy to like, do okay, Randy, for this one we're going to do 3 backflips and then you hit the RKO. Just keep it simple. The guy, he had back surgery. I don't think he wants to take those bumps anymore. And also, I mean, how many times can you reinvent the wheel? So I think it's great. I just hope that Randy Orton, obviously stemming from that, he I think does a one and done. He's got an open schedule, kayfabe wise, so he I guess effectively challenges John Cena for his belt in the Raw for WrestleMania. Genius. I mean, who would have thought all these years later, if they were to run it back, that Randy would be the good guy and John Cena's the bad guy. Amazing. It's like storytelling in rhymes. Um, Tiffany Stratton beating Charlotte Flair. These are just my notes, not the order to happen, I don't think, but good. I don't know how many losses rather Charlotte can afford. I think she has to win the next thing she does, but I was I was not a fan of this feud at all. I'm just going to be honest. I think that the controversy, behind the scenes and the clickbait and the etc. just really overshadowed it. I don't super care for how everything was handled, like on screen on TV. But all that being said, I think it was good for Charlotte to put over a younger gal. Tiffany's obviously on the come up. Great for them both. Um, uh, I really hope that Charlotte has something good to do after this because I know that she's not in the best spot with the audience. I think the audience hates her, which I feel bad because Charlotte seems nice. And as the human being, you don't want that's a lot of pressure. It's not easy. So I really hope that she finds what she needs to do because I feel like she sometimes doesn't. I mean, maybe it's not her. I don't know. Maybe it's the backstage people. But it's like, did you really think she would come back and be the face against Tiffany? Is that really how we thought this was going to happen? I mean, maybe they didn't. I don't know. But I feel like Charlotte is going to be booed. So we just need to lean into that. Get them to boo her for a year with her doing very obvious heel stuff, and then get screwed over by an even bigger heel. It's the classic Fast and Furious booking. There's a bad guy, they turn good. There's an even bigger bad guy later. So just do that with Charlotte, and I think she'll be fine. But it's not going to happen overnight, but she'll be fine. And Tiffany for the women is on that that map in my head of the next phase of wrestlers of women, and she's great. I think she's good. Jade Cargill beat Naomi, fine. I think it's good for Jade to get in there, get a singles match under her belt. I know people have a lot of criticism for her. Maybe there was backstage heat last year. I don't know. I think she's fine. She seems very nice. Naomi too. I think it's good for her to put Jade over because Naomi. I mean, this may not be obvious because Naomi looks very good for however old she is. I mean, she's a black girl, so she could be 55 and we wouldn't notice. Black don't crack. But she's been there for a while. You may not kind of actively think that. And I think that with that being said, kind of better and putting over the newer, talent, I think is good. So, Jade and Naomi, great. Love it. Jade is awesome. I mean, she's, you want to talk about someone passed the Fortnite test. Jade easily, without even question, passes the Fortnite test. I mean, I can only imagine if you were in real life to see Jade at the airport. You ever see someone in the airport? I've seen famous people in my life, or people who I have in public. I mean, people who I have assumed have been internet famous as well. I've seen some people where I'm just looking at them. I'm like, that person has 1 million followers online, and they're just standing here in line with me at KFC. And I think Jade is that in a nutshell. I mean, she's tall. I don't know how tall she is. She looks really tall. She's jacked up. She's got that Storm from X-Men hair. I mean, she's great. Let's see. One last thing I want to mention is it didn't come up obviously from the WrestleMania talk because of the it was strictly on the Raw on after WrestleMania, not stemming from WrestleMania. But Io Sky wrestling Stephanie Bacare on the show, I thought was awesome. I think that Stephanie Bacare is I see her as on the same trajectory and speed and altitude and however you want to word it. I see her on that same track that Rhea was on when she started getting that shag haircut a year or two ago when she had the kind of Joan Jett hair. I was like, okay, she's doing it. And I think it was around that time, like, she was getting a million views on TikTok, a million, views on her thirst traps, like it's, that I think that's where Stephanie is at this time. I think in a year or two, Stephanie will be like borderline household name, South American goth chick. I mean, it's people don't know. There's lots of like people like that, like kind of like metalheads or goth people or kind of alt people in South America. I know it's hard to believe when you only live in America and you only have your group of friends who know what they know and but it's true. And I think it's cool that she represents that because Chile is not often thought of when it comes to that stuff. But she is like obviously elephant in the room. She's got the look. She's got the Pog Smasher move, as I call it. The move she does on NXT where Booker T starts making his commentary. It's all really funny. Obviously, she looks good. But I think that she's just a genius. She has like the same wrestling gear, but in different colors, almost like a video game character or like a like in Street Fighter or or like a cartoon character. Like she has this like very uniform look. She's pretty fit, like muscular if you really look at her, and she didn't take the AEW signing. She went to WWE. She knew if she went to AEW, she would be, if she was in AEW right now, and here comes my AEW hate. I apologize, guys. If she was in AEW right now on WrestleMania weekend, she would be at home doing nothing and will have been doing that for the past 7 months preceding it. But no, in this reality, she's been on TV every week. She's wrestling on the Raw after WrestleMania. She wrestled on their NXT pay-per-view that kind of is kind of a companion piece to WrestleMania weekend. I mean, she's on fire and she's doing it. And I think that she seems like she's like a really like just easygoing, decent person. Like I think she did the interview with Bubba Ray Dudley, and I was like, she seems like really just like laid back and like has a good head on her shoulders and very humble. And she knew, without being disrespectful to, now people could say, well, she had the belts when she signed, from the promotions was with. Okay, yeah, I know, but maybe it wasn't up to her. Maybe it was disrespectful. It's not how they would have done it in the old school. But that aside, she didn't really bury AEW. She I mean, look, she had a contract with them, a literal contract of show up, wrestle Mercedes on one show, leave, and then we'll discuss, being booked later. That was the extent of that deal. She just did it, and then she decided to sign with WWE. So I think she's great. The same with Julia as well. Julia came out with Roxanne to beat on Stephanie and Io Sky, and Julia as well is just, I think, one of the best. She's obviously not getting as over as Stephanie, which is probably why she turned heel and whatever. But I think Julia's got a great look. I'm not sure about the look on this particular episode, but she's got a great look, and I think she's really talented. And if you've seen her in, when she was in Japan, I mean, she was just like super like jacked and just like really good and like really wrestling hard, hard style. What do they call it? Strong style over there, which probably you don't want to do in, the land of WWE. It's kind of a different animal, but I think she's great. And it was really cool to see those gals get introduced with Rhea in the same segment, because I think that in a couple years, you talking Julia, you talking Stephanie, you talking Rhea. I mean, easy Fortnite test passers right there. So it's good stuff. We'll see what happens. I mean, I don't know how I feel about Julia wrestling Rhea. I mean, Julia is good. She's fit, but she is not as tall as Rhea, not as jacked. I mean, Rhea is like just an animal, and Julia is just kind of a little bit more on the Roxanne side of things, which is not a knock on her. I mean, just is what it is. Which is why you don't see me in WWE. I mean, you gonna put me in there wrestling Braun Breaker so I can get speared out of my shoes like I show speed? No, thank you. Okay. But it is what it is. But yeah, and obviously, quick note: Gunther choking out Pat McAfee, attacking Michael Cole. I mean, that was great. I would really like to see the kind of differentiation of kind of angles and who's doing what. I mean, in the audience on the day yesterday, probably wasn't that much different than normal. You just saw people getting physical down there. But at home, you're watching it. I was watching at home, obviously, and there's no commentary for what felt like 10 to 15 minutes because both the commentators are getting physical, or getting attacked. So I thought that was really cool and really different. We'll see where it goes. I mean, I don't know if that's going to lead to a Pat McAfee wrestling angle or what's gonna happen, but it's good stuff. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our episode of the Morning Suplex, covering a little bit of Raw after WrestleMania and WrestleMania 41. Hope you enjoyed, and please leave a like below and subscribe because we're gonna keep coming out with these. And you got a new podcast to listen to while you're cleaning your bathroom, which I did before this. And I mean really cleaning it. Okay, getting in the toilet, getting behind the toilet, scrubbing the tub. It's you better be a different color when you're done. Spraying the mirror Windex, no streaks, none of that. So while you're doing all that, feel free to listen to this and future episodes right here on this channel. Thanks, and have a great day.